What is up, Philadelphia? And welcome to another episode of The Cheap Seats. And I want to tell you that after watching the game on Sunday against Cleveland Browns at Lincoln Financial Field, which, by the way, was a little awkward. It felt like forever in a day since we had a game, especially a 1 o'clock game at Lincoln Financial Field. But now that I saw that game and was there and watched it for myself and had time to digest, I want to set the tone for me and me only. And ladies and gentlemen, I have found peace and happiness in the win against the Cleveland Browns. And I know that's not what you thought I was going to be saying. I know you thought I was going to go on an opening tirade about Nick Sirianni, and don't worry, that's in the chamber. That's coming. And I know you thought that I'd be getting on the offense's ass about not scoring a point in the first quarter again. Don't worry. That one's in the chamber too. But I have found peace and happiness in this victory against the Cleveland Browns. I really have. And I found peace in the fact that there will be no peace this year. There will be no peace. And I've come to accept that every game that we watch is going to come voluntarily equipped with a defibrillator and a bottle of Pepto-Bismol. And I have found happiness in the fact that I am going to have to redefine my definition of happiness, because I only speak for myself. Every time I get on this microphone, I don't speak for anybody else, but I speak for myself. I personally have to stop putting 2022 expectations on the 2024 Eagles. You understand what I mean by that? Like, I can't expect the same results 2 years ago to be happening now, because this is a different team with its own different quirks. And boy, do they got quirks and their own set of difficulties. And boy, do they got difficulties. So after the Cleveland Browns game, I genuinely found peace and happiness, knowing that there is not going to be any peace and happiness when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And we are just going to have to live this season one game at a time. And despite how ugly it may be, and is it sometimes ugly? They lose ugly, they play ugly, they tackle ugly, the game plan's ugly, the execution's ugly, the turnover's ugly, and hey, when they win, they're gonna win ugly. But I have to find some sort of peace and happiness knowing that for the remainder of the season, that is now my expectation. Your Washington Commanders are now 4-2. I see you talking shit, Commanders fans. And listen, I ain't even mad at it. It's about time y'all were good. It's about time y'all found the quarterback and had the opportunity to release some of that pent-up shit talking. Your Philadelphia Eagles are 3-2. We got to watch the Dallas Cowboys drop to 500 at 3-3 on Jerry's birthday and New York Giants. I cannot wait to get after your big blue asses, because there is multiple dishes of revenge on the menu, and revenge is a dish best served cold. But first, let me kick it off to my man Jason Ashworth. Jason, how we doing?
You know what to do. Oh, we got a bottle. We got a bottle this week. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. I'm still recovering from Sunday. I'm still trying to gather my thoughts. Yeah, you threw me for a little roller coaster there, brother. Yeah. You're talking about peace and happiness, and I'm wondering what the hell you've been smoking that you're finding peace and happiness after watching that. So I'm still I love the fact genuinely that you're just coming at peace with things, because there's a number of ways we can look at this. At the end of the day, you just went through the roster, and on the positive side, look, a win's a win. Like we always say that, right? Yeah. In the NFL, is a win to win, and it's a week where the Eagles got the dub, and the Commanders and the Giants and the Cowboys all took L's. Yeah. So there are positives to take out of it, but the reality is, if you watch that game on Sunday and you're coming out of it with anything other than more questions and more frustration and more coming to peace with that is probably the best thing that you said. Redefining your happiness is probably more realistic than anything else. Gritty, what were your thoughts?
I'm speaking for 30% of the city. 30% of the people. I'm the people's champ. I'm the voice of the few, the proud, the many. I speak for myself and other people. Many other people think how I think, and I take pride in that. E-Rock is not affiliated with me. Only when I'm Black E-Rock do we have the affiliation going on. But I say to that, the peace thing, I get that, because I said to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to realize that the standard is the standard. The standard is barely winning. The standard is a win is a win. The standard is frustration. So for 3 years when I heard, we haven't reached our standard. We haven't reached our standard. And now that the standard is declining, I'm readjusting my standard. So when they keep saying, I'm going to a standard, the standard is just get a George W., which is the base level for some kind of happiness. I haven't had joy watching my team in almost a physical year. And that in itself upsets me. We sit here on this show for the first 5 episodes, and you would think that we were trying to kill each other. That is just frustration level on high, which is why I said I speak for 30%. Because I know when I go out there and I say the things that I say, there's a good 30% that says, shut up, are you even an Eagles fan? And then there's the people in the middle like, well, you know, they're doing their best. And then there's other people behind me with pitchforks and flames afoot. And I get it. There is the microcosm of all of it. Yeah. But I just want joy back. And since I can't get that, the standard is the standard, which is just getting a George W. We got the George W. We met the standard of a win.
And the reality is, I mean, that redefinition of the standard needs that, like, what is the standard, right? I mean, how many games do we need to go through of seeing what we're seeing on the field before that definition of the gold standard, whatever that is, gets redefined? The reality is, and I don't know if this is 100% correct, I'm trying to do the math in my head, but since that San Francisco game in 2023, they're 4-8. I mean, that's not a good football team. Yep. As I'm watching the Browns game this past weekend, at some point it clicked, and I realized, I remember the tangible thought of, we're just watching 2 average football teams, average to below average football teams. I'm not seeing anything else out of that to make me think that they can make this leap, they can turn this corner. Right. And at what point, like what else do we need to see for us to realize that they are who they are, and who they are is not that good?
Yeah. Because I came into the season like hot and heavy. Yeah. I came into the season with my chest out, expecting this team to boat race people on the way to the Super Bowl. And I know I kind of feel like sheepish and foolish about it now, but I can't have this revisionist history where if I was to go back and talk to E-Rock in September, E-Rock in September would say the same exact thing. I think when you look at this team overall, whether you're a fan, whether you're the 30% with pitchforks, whether you're like me, just trying to cope. They've played 5 games and I'm exhausted. I'm already mentally, I'm tired, man. And I shouldn't be tired 5 games, like 5 games into the season. But I think no matter what media member you talk to, no matter what fan you talk to, or what kind of bracket they fit inside that percentage pie, if you were to ask people to describe the 2024 Eagles, at least to this point right now, they would say a lot of things. But I think one thing that they would all agree on, the adjective underperforming would show up. This team is an underperforming team. And this is what makes it, this is why I got to come to peace with the fact that there will be no peace. And I got to redefine my happiness because, again, we all know this team's underperforming. The way this offense is shaped up, you can't justify to me that once again, I swear to God, I'm sitting in section 226, and I'm half watching the game, and I'm half watching the game clock. And I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the game clock, and I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the game clock because I'm counting down the seconds until that first quarter ends to see if they're just going to threaten. And they were on offense. And I'm like, God, please just throw one deep. Throw one deep and score a big touchdown before the end of the first. And nope, it went on the pass. This is just an underperforming team, but I find happiness in seeing the little baby steps. And I'd like to take a minute just to talk about the little baby steps that have us pointing in the right direction.
Well, sure. I'll say there weren't 2 average teams. One is a bargain basement. They're the worst team in the league.
Okay, fair.
And
which is frustrating. That's why you raise your eyebrows.
Yes, you can't say 2 average teams.
That's completely fair.
We made them look average, which is also the problem with Philadelphia Eagles football right now. Right. We're playing to the level of competition to some of these lower teams. This is verbatim one of the worst teams in the league. They got a good defense, but they were also missing 3 starters on defense. It's just bad execution on our part. Right. But we still won the game. But it's just like, man, it shouldn't feel like that. So you want to get started on some stats and some kudos? I do have a couple positive things to say too.
Well, let's go for it. Good. Let's start the positive train with Gritty because I know we represent the 30%.
And I'm usually never positive.
You're on the you're the caboose, right? You're with the party station back there. You're with the people with the pitchforks and torches that are ready to storm the castle here.
So we're going to talk about Nick, but Nick Sirianni did what everybody yelled at. He took the points. And when you win by 4 points, that field goal that we made played a huge part late in that game because it forced the other team to have to get a touchdown because you're up by 4. So thank you for taking the points. Secondly, when everybody says, well, the Commanders blew them out. I was like, well, the Commanders only had 205 yards on offense. We had like 226, 246. So we moved the ball better against them, even though it didn't capitalize in points. So it's the optics of how it looks versus how it plays out.
Right.
The numbers say that against a better defense with one of the best defensive linemen in the world, Mailata went down, and they had put him on Mailata's side because he's tired of messing with Lane. He's like, look, we got this young guy over here. He's doing pretty good. Let him go find out what the NFL's like. Let me go against Mailata, who's no slouch, but let me just have a shot at doing something. And we kept them in check for the most part. Like, other than not paying attention to detail, which was preached all bye week. If you study now I want to be negative. I got to stay on positive.
Yeah, stay on the positive train. We save this for later.
So we had more yards. We won the game. We took the points. They ran the ball. Those are things that we've asked for, because if we would have lost that game and he would have went for it 2 times on 4th down on our own side of the ball, it would have been what happened earlier in the season when you lose the game, because you're saying, Nick, take the field goal. So I'm thankful for that, along with the jub.
All right, let me give you.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, I've never been so proud of you.
What the fuck?
I know you. Look at you. I love it.
We did
turning
it.
over a new leaf. It's fall.
We did it. We did it.
It took 5 episodes, but I did it.
I guess to kind of play off this, which I was not prepared for, to be honest with you.
See?
But to play off this, I'll take one from Gritty. I mean, defensively, sure, they held the Browns in check, right? And defense kind of won the day. This is not to say that I was impressed with the defense. I was not. But they got off the field on 3rd down. That's a big way to succeed in the NFL. You got to get off the field. I say it all the time at home. What do you do on 3rd down, hun? Get off the field, right? Because that's what you do. So they were able to do that, albeit against Deshaun Watson, who hasn't converted a 3rd down in 6 years, whatever that is. Offensively, this is something we talk about all the time, and probably what I'm taking, if I had to kind of stick a pin in the most positive aspect of it. And Gritty, you said it a couple weeks ago. If you want to see a clean game, wait till Cleveland comes to town, because we have begged Jalen Hurts to play a clean game, and he did that. Now, albeit with a little bit of help from A.J. Brown. There were a couple balls that A.J. went out and got and did his quarterback a favor, and look, Jalen's going to get credit for that, right? There are a couple. Sure. There was a touchdown throw to A.J. Brown that was probably a little underthrown, but A.J. Brown went in and got it. There was that 3rd down throw that was probably pretty questionable. I don't know if I agree with the decision there. A.J. Brown went and got it. Yeah. So all told, though, Jalen played a clean game, protected the football, leads to a dub. Go figure.
I didn't even want to do that, but
No, you're right. I have no problem saying when you're right.
I know, but I'm overweight. It's hard for me to pat myself on the back sometimes.
We got you. I got you.
It's just like the whole stretch for the whole "I told you so." Right. 3 weeks ago. I mean, I was Negro Damas a month ago telling you when we're gonna have a clean game.
Dude,
but
I gotta put a whiteboard back here, and it's just the Gritty was right whiteboard. Because sometimes, like when Gritty starts going off, I'm like, man, I don't know if I agree with this. There's been more times that Gritty's been right than
all right. Can we relax? Can we relax?
No, but it's absolutely true. No, it's true. It's true. It's true. And he played, a clean game. And you take away, I don't know what's going on with Michael Clay. I was listening to the assistant coach's press conference, the coordinator's press conference, and you can tell that dude is visibly upset. So much upset that he even said something during the presser that I was like, oh, no, backtrack, please, back. And then he doubled down on it. He was like, yeah, sometimes you just got to clip a dude and take the penalty. I'm like, no, don't say that. Don't. I know whoever's like in charge of the press over there or the media relations was like this in the background going, don't say that shit. They're going to think we're bounty bowling them.
Yeah, right.
But you can tell he's visibly frustrated. But you take away that bungle at the end of the first half, and they win by 11 points. So we were all and I know, and what happens in the game is happens in the game. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yeah. But again, I got to redefine my thought of happiness, because if I was walking out of there, and if you're not following, Cheap Seats on Instagram and X. Gritty, where can they get it? What's the tags?
PHLY, cheapseats.com gets you the links to everything where we're at. iTunes, Spotify, all the jams.
Thank you, sir. But if you follow our Instagram, like you saw my post game reaction, which was just like, there's analytics. I keep butting myself.
Yeah.
Like we sit here and we go, Jalen played a clean game. Yeah, but it was the Browns. Well, they didn't cover the spread. It wasn't a dominating win. Yeah, but if you take away this, it would have been. And they're not pass. They can pass all the analytics tests, and by and large they are. For a large majority, you look at the stats, like you mentioned, like the stats, and you go, wow, this team's performing pretty well. Yet they still have not scored a first quarter. That's I'm going to have trouble getting off of that. They haven't scored a first quarter. Are you kidding me?
So I went on a tangent because obviously I'm talking about this all the time, where I was dismantling the team, and I actually came to a fruition in my mind, like since 1934, no team has gone 5 games without scoring in the first quarter. It sounds so disgusting when you reach any kind of stat that comes out like that, because that's 90 years of football. But then I think to myself, there were 3 games where we could have had a field goal and we didn't take the points, and Jalen Hurts had a turnover. So when they're asking Jalen, like, what's up with the slow starts? Well, I throw turnovers in the red zone to start the season. That was part of the problem. And my coach wouldn't kick field goals in the beginning of the season. That's the problem. When I went back, as I said, and I was angrily just crapping on the team, I realized that I went back. There were 6 opportunities that they should have gotten points in the first quarter, and this wouldn't have been a thing. If he would have just kicked the field goal, no problem. If Jalen didn't throw 2 interceptions and have 1 fumble, they would have. They were right in the red zone. No matter what, they would have at least 3, and this wouldn't be a thing. Yeah. So there's also that convoluted thing of context that brings it in there, but it still is an issue.
You said it was dating back to when? 1934?
Yeah.
So while I agree with everything that you say, where my head immediately goes to is, so what? This is the only time a team since 1934 has made some questionable decisions in the first quarter since to not score any points. Like, the reality is there are other coaches that didn't take the points in the first quarter. There are other quarterbacks that threw interceptions in the first quarter that should have led to points. The fact that they're the only team since 1934 not to score points through the first 5, it goes back to that woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? We could say that about everything, about every team. We'd have to microanalyze every NFL game, every sport, every athlete for the woulda, coulda, shoulda. The bottom line is they haven't. The bottom line is they are who they are, and we can only critique them as such.
Well, we're going to score some points with the sponsors real quick. We'll be right back to continue the conversation of the offensive woes. So whenever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Bet365 streams 780,000 events per year. Early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL. By the way, when you like Flyers, right? First game, did you have the first goal scorer? You should have bet that on Bet365.
I should have.
You should have bet that on not the outcome of the game. Don't bet that.
I did bet the outcome.
Oh, did you? Oh no.
I mean, start the year off, kick it off.
But that's when you go ahead and you jump in like mid-game, right? You do the Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting. So even in-game, you can just hop right on and go ahead and bet. And today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Here's your offer right now, exclusively for you. We're just talking to you, and we want to give you like free money. We just want to put free money in your hand. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just up to $5. Use code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10. That's all it takes, $10. How much money are you spending at lunch? Don't worry about lunch. Go on the dollar menu, take some of that money, invest it in the Bet365, okay? And then just bet $5. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to spend the whole 10. You just bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. If you or someone you love or someone you know is suffering from a gambling addiction or needs help, 1-800-GAMBLER, please send them their way. But I'm sending you to Bet365.
So look, here's the deal. It's well documented when I talk about my Cocoa Miller Lights. I've taken you through Eagles games. I've taken you through golf. I'm going to be short and sweet this week. When it comes to your beer of choice, What do you like? What does it for you? Are you the guy you want 8.5 ABV? That's your bag. Go for it. Are you the one that you want to sit here and analyze the notes and the finish of your cold beer? You go for it. Are you the one that wants to take your double dry hopped IPA, fill you up, and make you feel like you got hit with a sedative dart and you need a nap? More power to you. Me? No. What matters to me, great taste, less filling. To me, that's Miller time. So for me, what I like to do is get my cold Miller Lite delivered to the house. You all can do that as well. You just go on MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, and they will deliver a nice cold 12-pack, 30-pack, whatever pack you want to your doorstep. Of course, with Miller Lite, you can always go to your local grocer or any store that sells beer. They've got you covered. Now, we have to do, you know this, we got to do the T's and C's. Again, I said I was going to keep it short. As always, when you drink your Miller Lites, we like to celebrate responsibly here at PHLY on the Cheap Seats. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Here's the kicker. Fewer calories and carbs than any premium regular beer. Cold Miller Lite. That's a wrap.
Cold Miller Lite. I
Cold
bet you a lot of
Miller
those were had on Sunday.
A lot of those were had on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. And here we are Wednesday with another cold Miller Lite.
I love it. But just jumping back into the conversation about why the Eagles are struggling so much. And it's uncanny. It really is uncanny. And I'm just going to tell a quick story because I kind of, this is where I'm at with this team and why I'm so frustrated and why I just can't understand it, right? My jiu-jitsu instructor, right? You know, Karate Mark, right?
Yeah.
So
big jiu-jitsu guy, by the way. In case you guys don't know, big jiu-jitsu guy.
So Mark's a big Sixers fan. And Sixers, that's not my wheelhouse. Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm seeing something with the Sixers, like I got to go to him and ask him, hey, bud, like break it down for me. Mm-hmm. Why is this happening? And as a season ticket holder and a total hoops head, he'll break it down for me. Well, he flipped the script and was like, yo, man, what's the deal with why aren't they scoring on offense? And so I had to lay it out for him in like jiu-jitsu terms. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, like, when I'm on the mat, what kind of fighter am I? And he goes, you're aggressive. And I said, okay, keep going. He goes, you're aggressive. You like to push the pace. You like to play your game. You like to dictate the tempo. You like to play your game and establish your game. And you don't let the other guy have the opportunity to play his game because you're going after it so hard. And I said, that's right. That's exactly what I do. And you know why? Why? Because I'm not that good. Period. That's the issue. I'm not that good. So I have to be aggressive. I have to dictate the pace. I have to force my game plan upon you with the things that I do well, because unlike Mark, who's a counter fighter who will leave an arm out, bait a trap so you take the arm so he can then take your back, where he's thinking 5 steps ahead of you and waiting for you to make a mistake to capitalize, I can't afford to play that game. I can't afford to do that because I am not that good. So the only prayer that I have, the only chance that I can get is if I dictate the terms and I dictate the pace and I push the action and I force you to play my game and hope that I get the tap before you're able to counter one of mine. I have never seen a more reactive football team in my life where the first 15 plays, which should be your best stuff. If this was Andy Reid, if this was Doug Peterson, they would be putting up 2 touchdowns with this offense before the first quarter, and then afterwards they might screw up. Once the script ended, they might screw it up. They might forget how to call plays. But that first 15 was on point. This is the most reactionary football team I have ever seen in my life, where they wait for the defense to dictate what they're going to do on offense, and you're too good on offense. But overall, you're just not good enough to let another team or another defense dictate to you what you're going to be doing the entire game, and wait and hope you can make the adjustments.
So, first of all, you're burying the lead here because a little inside source tells me you're also a grunter during jiu-jitsu. Is that
who told you that?
I have inside sources. You're also a bit of a grunter, which makes sense. Which makes sense because if you're the aggressor, right, and you're that guy that you're trying to really mount up, right, and force your way, I could see you grunting once in a while. Besides the point, I just want to make sure we didn't bury the lead. Now let's put that thing right back.
Wait a minute.
So
go ahead,
that said, it's one thing to be the aggressor, right? And it's one thing to be proactive. It's one thing to force the pace. But if you're not technically sound, and if your plan is flawed, I don't care how much of an aggressor you are. I don't care how much you try to dictate or how much you try to grunt your way through it. If they're better than you and you're not fundamentally sound, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what we're seeing. Yes, you want to have them put out their best 15 in the beginning. Yes, you want them to be proactive and dictate the pace, dictate the offense. But sometimes I think what we're seeing is whatever they're trying to do, whatever they're trying to dictate, their best 15 ain't that good. Yeah. It just ain't that good.
Okay.
And so I think that puts them behind the 8 ball, forcing themselves to have to react and kind of figure out, okay, well, wait a minute. What can we do? Because what we tried ain't good enough.
That's poor coaching.
I agree.
All that is coaching.
I agree.
Because when you watch football as much as all of us do, again, I'm watching all 24s, all 68s. And when you watch other teams, part of it is execution. But with your first 15, you are the one in control and have power. So when the other team doesn't know what you're doing, why aren't they adjusting? With the Eagles, it seems like, oh, well, if we would have hit this play, again, you want to put it on the quarterback? Well, A.J. Brown, you got to catch this ball that was put in your hands by Jalen Hurts on the second play of the game, but you dropped it. So now you're 3rd and 8 instead of a first down and to keep the chains moving. So your execution. So when I hear my coach with a bye week, extra time, and tells me we're hammering down on details, which he said again today in his press conference, he spoke about details. Well, details would tell me that Myles Garrett has jumped over the line on field goal kicks 3 times in the last 3 seasons. That's not a lot, but if you have attention to detail and you have a bye week, this is something that you should know as a special teams coach to warn your guys about. One of the most athletic guys in the world who's still playing special teams. Note to you, White, maybe you might want to play special teams. You're not better or good enough to not want to play special teams, but attention to detail. Saquon Barkley, I love you. Now you dropped the pass, and now you ran out of bounds without contact, and you didn't even do the ball extension to check and make sure that you were over that line for the first down. So where's your attention to detail, Nick? Where are you hammering it home? Oh, you want to bring out real people for tackling drills now because you're not tackling well. Well, if the person holding it is getting laid on by a tackler, you might as well put the dummy out there and let them run into it, because they're just falling on the guys onto a mat. And then you watch them go out there and Nakobe Dean standing around watching a tackle. CJ DJ watching people standing around for a tackle. I don't know what's going on, but people are making quote-unquote business decisions, and I attribute that a lot to the captain of Slay and his lifestyle, because he makes a lot of business decisions. And when you're young, let me tell you something. Quinyon Mitchell and Ringo are the guys you should be looking at, because you haven't even gotten through your first contract yet. And they're the only 2 young dudes out there I see sticking people. Dean was out there. He was where he was supposed to be, very encouraging. But these other guys need to do what they're supposed to do. But I feel like they're not being coached well.
So, and I agree with you that, and that's the tough part for me as we go week to week, and probably why I'm redefining what that standard is, and we're trying to find where that piece is, to go back to the beginning of the show. Because on one week, or when you bring in a Saquon Barkley, we talk about, I mean, he's a veteran, right? This guy's a Pro Bowler. This guy's been around the block. He's one of the best backs in the game. And not only does he not stretch out for that first down, but the very next play, they actually had DeVonta Smith wide open over the middle. He misses his block. Jalen Hurts gets sacked. That could have been 6. So not only is he not doing his job on one play, the very next play, now this back that we say is a complete back that he can run, he can catch, he can pass block, blows another one. Now, do I blame that on Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, or do I look at my vet and say, bro, you just didn't do your job? Defensively, we look at it and we say, well, I've seen CJGJ be an impact player in this league. I've seen him do it with the Saints. I've seen him be an impact player with this very team in Philadelphia. I've seen him be an impact player in Detroit. And he comes back here to Philadelphia again. I'm saying, you're a vet. You've been around the block. You know how to tackle. You know how to hit. You know how to do your job. I have not seen any of that from CJGJ so far this season. We've seen games where Nakobe Dean looks like, oh, okay, he figured something out. Oh, okay, somebody's coaching him, right? Because he's where he needs to be. He's making tackles. Obviously, we see it with Bond, so somebody's coaching somebody. But then you have a game against the Browns where Nakobe Dean, you look absolutely lost. Yeah. We're back in 2023 again. Yeah. So I get confused because from a week-to-week basis, I don't know, am I blaming the head coach? Am I blaming the coordinators? Am I blaming the players? Is it a mix of all those ingredients? But it's trying to figure out the thing we've struggled with for now the better part of a season and a half, or we'll say a season and a quarter, right? I can't pinpoint what the problem is. Yeah. I can't pinpoint where we're going south, where the issues are. Players, head coach, coordinators, a collection of all.
there's a lot of organizational decisions and an organizational philosophy and an organizational coaching style. And we'll get to the coach in a second after this. But there is a lot of decisions that when you pick one or the other, they don't seem to be a big deal. But then when you start stacking everything and then looking at the evidence on the field, you go, wait a minute. Maybe some of this stuff's starting to manifest itself, and more times than not manifesting itself in season rather than, like, I know practices are light and we're trying to keep the boys healthy. The boys were healthy for 2022. Every other season besides that, they've been hurting. So they're not having a very physical training camp.
Sure.
Not playing preseason. You can't convince me that playing 1 or 2 series in a preseason is going to determine the outcome of the first 4 games. But here we are, and even players are like, well, listen, BG said it. Listen, first 4 games, the preseason's over. Man, do we want to really do that to the first 4 games? Just treat this as a warm-up? And that's where redefining my expectations and redefining my happiness comes into play, because I still believe this is indeed a team that is talented enough on paper that if they catch the right heat at the end of the season, right? If they catch the right heat and figure it out by the end of the season, they just need to get hot then. If you want to take this beginning part to friggin' hover right above 500 and figure things out on your own, just get hot at the end, okay? But that's like because I thought we'd be boat racing teams on our way to the Super Bowl, and I got to redefine my expectations and the standard that you were talking about.
So yes, you're right, and we said I want to say it was the first show we ran. What type of team do I want? What type of season would I be after? I mean, obviously we want a team to stay hot, but do we want that 10-1 start to where they fizzle down the stretch like they did in 23? Or would we rather figure out, all right, we got some bumps and bruises, some hurdles to clear, but come end of November into December, this team's playing their best ball. Obviously, you want the latter. You want them playing their best ball at the end of the season. The challenge
you don't want to Phillies it.
Right. The challenge that I have is, and that very well could happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, a perfect example is the Eagles did it in 2008, where they were like 9-6-1 and got hot at the right time, made a run to the NFC chip. Obviously didn't get the Super Bowl, but turned the season around when we thought it was dead in the water. The problem that I have is I look around the NFL, and I mean, even if I look at the Eagles, and I don't see the evidence just yet. Paper champs, sure. Great talent on paper, agreed. But that doesn't, for me, translate. Maybe we see a hint of it here and there. Like, again, defensively, they played so much better. Yeah. But it's against the Browns. So I gotta weigh that out. I don't know, right? If this was Joe Flacco-led Browns from a year ago, is it the same result? I don't know. So for me, it's just, do I see enough? I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, great. Jets fired Saleh. Now they go out and trade for Devontae Adams. Are the Jets a contender? Or do they play a lot of ugly football?
Ugly football.
Do you believe that they can turn it around and they're going to be a contender in December? In your gut, do you believe that?
No.
Okay, so why would you believe that about Philadelphia?
Nah, fair.
Right, so again, and I'm not saying they can't, and I'm not saying I don't want to believe, and I'm not saying it's not possible. Of course it is. But I'm just saying the likelihood of that each week that passes by and we get more evidence of who they actually are on the field, the less and less inclined I am to believe that they're just going to, like the Phillies, right? Flip a switch. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, we've been believing that flip the switch stuff for a while.
Well, the Jets schedule doesn't lend to that either.
No, at all. At all. Phillies or Eagles does.
So you said you can't pinpoint it. It's Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is the problem. Nick Sirianni is the issue. Nick Sirianni is a detriment to the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni is the problem that we have to deal with until the end of the season, when he will be fired. He will not make it past this season. This team is underperforming because they're not well coached. And I don't care if they told Nick to be himself. Matter of fact, if I was trying to sabotage a crazy person, I'd tell them to stop taking their medication and go out to their job and just act like themselves so they can get themselves fired by HR so I don't have to do it. That's what I would do if I was a smart person. I'm not saying I manipulate people in the past. I'm just saying if I wanted to do it, that'd be a step that I'd take. But either way, Nick goes out there and be himself. He shaves his head. Brittany comes to life, and he's chirping with the fans, okay? So a man that had to pull Carter aside and tell him, we got to focus on the game. And he said 2 weeks about detail. Okay, so detail, when you're on the sideline, you don't call plays, you don't do anything, but you're ear hustling to fans in the first quarter, enough so to go back to the same section at the end of the game to chirp with them, whether you're being positive or negative or whatever you're doing. But you're not paying attention to the game. You don't have detail and focus on the game. You look crazy, Nick. And so when you go out there at the press conference and you bring your kids, I know people do that. It's one thing that I've never liked. I don't like it. And the thing is, he doubled down on it. Well, it's what I want to do for my family. Well, now you put your family in harm's way because other people are saying that you're a coward and you're using them as a shield. Your wife is telling you that you can't use foul language in front of them. So now you shouldn't bring your family out there because I have kids. You should protect your kids going forward because now you put them in this light where people can say things about your children. And I don't want to do that. They're your children. You love them. They're great people. You're a great human being, actually. Just let me say that individually. You're probably a great guy. But as a coach, you're a trash panda and you're just a nutcase to me. Now, again, I'm only speaking for 30%. That 30% does not include E-Rock or Jason Ashworth, but me and the Pitchfork crew know who you are. We know who you are. We know you are. You are off the medication, and then you had to get reeled in. You got spanked and had to apologize on Tuesday because your Monday apology wasn't good enough. And you're sitting there not answering questions and doing your job and telling me stories about T-ball and your uncle and your nanny and your sister, and I don't care. And when you're doing that in the locker room and they're saying, we're with Nick, I know why they're with you, because they want to sit there with Micah Parsons and do podcasts. They want to sit there and do the other things they want to do outside. So if your head coach gets to go out there and act like a crazy person, then it behooves the players who are in the asylum with you to go out there and bang trash cans and drink fruit juice in the middle of the night. So, like I said, this team is poorly coached, and the coach isn't going anywhere, because I know, Jeffrey Lurie, you're embarrassed, but you'd be more embarrassed to fire the head coach in the middle of the season.
Black Gritty, I just got a text from Big Dom. He's on his way here to scoop you up again. He's on his way here to scoop you up.
So, let me just roll.
Go ahead, tell the story real quick. Tell the story
real quick, just to make sure I stay safe in these streets. All right. So I was out in the world, and I was having dinner with a friend who knows Dom. Dom comes up, gives her a hug. I reached over to shake his hand. Now, I've met Dom 3 and 4 times. And I shook his hand, and he squoze it like a squeezer of a big man does. He squoze it. He squoze it.
You got squozed.
Yeah, when you can squoze a hand.
I got squozed. And so I was like, he's like, yo, I'm Big Dom. Nice to meet you. And I'm like, oh, we met a couple times. He's like, oh, I know who you are, Black Gritty. I'm just saying it's nice to meet you since I know you don't like me. I just want to introduce myself in the proper fashion. And I'm like, who said I don't like you? He's like, oh, congratulations on the podcast. I watched the podcast. I'm like, oh, Dom, I never said I didn't like. He's like, oh, no, you think I'm a celebrity. You don't want me to. I'm like, yes, I said that. That's what I said. I don't want you to be a celebrity, Dom. I didn't say I didn't like you. And then I had to hug him. And he big man. I fear for my life. You know what I mean? I hugged him. And I apologized. But I told him, hey, look. I like you when you're the Dark Knight, Dom, okay? When you're coming out of the shadows, nobody knows what you're doing. That's the Dom I like. And he explained to me that he doesn't like the attention. He doesn't like the limelight. He's just a big guy. So the camera, when it pans, it catches him every once in a while. So, and I had to tell him that E-Rock has nothing to do with it because E-Rock sent me a very long text message, show Dom. So, love you, Big Dom.
Please show Dom that I'm always home team. I'm team home. You got to talk to these other guys, but I'm team home team.
These guys are not part of the 30%. I'm going to lose. And everybody who does a podcast with me and my buddies are like, man, we're going to lose our credentials. I can't even go to games no more. They're going to block me in the games. So just block me individually, but let these guys live. I apologize and appreciate you, Big Dom, for the squirrels.
And after all that, Big Dom was like, now get in his trunk. He was done with him. He was done with him.
Hey,
if Gritty ever goes missing,
hey, when I
I ain't gonna say nothing.
Hey, when
snitches get stitches.
When I hugged him, I had to hug him. I had to make sure he was good. I had to hug him. I had to get the hug.
Come keep my mouth shut
all the way around.
No.
You couldn't touch fingers.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? Because like I stood like when you meet the players like Jordan Malone and all those guys, like I feel like a child. And Dom's like that too. Like that's how much feel when girls be hugging me. Because I couldn't even get my arms around. I put my head on the chest. I'm trying to squeeze. I couldn't even get there. I'm just like, I love you, Dom. I half apologize because, like I said what I said. But, shout out to Dom. He's out here watching.
Big Dom blames half that shit. I saw him at training camp, and he was like, people were taking pictures with him, and they're like, oh, you're a celebrity. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, blame that guy over there. I'm partially to blame.
He did bring up the shirts. He's like, I don't even do these shirts. Everybody got shirts to me. I made one shirt, bro. So, shout out to Big Dom. He's watching the cheap seats.
Yeah, no, go talk your Sirianni. Talk your Sirianni.
Sirianni first?
Yeah, let's talk Sirianni.
So, I'll be honest with you. I'll respond. I do want to give you the floor, to be honest. My Sirianni, it's not a take. It's an evolving opinion of Sirianni. First and foremost, I mean, just genuinely, I feel like the conversation around Sirianni is so narrative driven, is so malleable, is so kind of wishy-washy. If it's and he's been put in that situation. Let's be honest. Like he's been put in a no-win situation. If things are going well, it's because we brought in Kellen Moore and because this offense is geared around him. If things are going bad, no matter if we say he's got a part of the offense or not, we're going to blame Nick Sirianni. So I don't know that there's a reality where I can look at him and say, it's truly on you. Because again, as we've said on the show, I don't know. That's the problem. I've been vocal and I've said, I think part of the challenge is with Sirianni is that we don't know. And the only way to find out is he's got to go. Because then at that point, you're going to find out real quick. If the head coach is gone and then you put it on Kellen Moore and nothing changes, then okay, it's Kellen Moore. Or your quarterback. And we've mentioned that before because at some point you have to look at the common denominator. And I don't know how you can look at any of this situation that involves Sirianni, that involves Jalen Hurts. We tried blaming Sirianni in 21 when things didn't look good. You gave it to Steichen. We tried blaming Brian Johnson in 23 when things didn't look good, got rid of him, and then blamed it on Sirianni, pulled Sirianni out, put Kellen Moore in. The offense looks the same. The only common denominator is your quarterback. So it's not me being a hater. I love Jalen Hurts. Everybody knows I love Jalen Hurts. But if we're looking at it objectively, saying at some point we got to just – the only way to find that out is by letting your head coach go. Again, I feel like he's in a no-win situation. I have my opinion of Nick Sirianni and the antics that went on. We'll get into that. I don't want to take the floor on that. But I will say, before because I want to give you some mic time here. But I will say, I'm starting to feel like my opinion on this whole situation. When it happened, I called him a clown, just like Damian Woody. When it happened, I was like, bro, that's clown behavior. What are you doing? I don't want that from my head coach. And the more that I go along with it, the more that I start to pay attention to it, the more that I try to just sit back and let other people talk. And I'm just going to listen and let other people talk. The more I start to understand. I don't like it. I don't want that from my head coach. I don't want it from my head coach. But this whole hard-nosed, tough Philadelphia crowd that can say whatever they want. We wear our emotions on our sleeves. I'm going to sit in the stands, and I'm going to give you the business for however many games I'm going to give you the business, and I'm going to call on the radio station. I'm going to ask for your job, and I'm going to wear it on my chest. Oh, now I need an apology. Because you clap back for a second, and I'm not sure that's appropriate, and I don't really feel good about it. It hurts my feelings. Like, miss me with that stuff. Miss me with that noise. That's where I stood with them. And the more I hear people complaining about it and demanding apologies, the more I start to think about the fan base, how hypocritical we are. You're clapping at this dude. You're chanting for this dude to be fired. And all he comes back and says, and I'm not even getting in to the idea of what the fan, whether it's true or not, we don't know. But the fan coming out saying, hey, he was talking to me, right? I'm not even going to get into that. Because I don't know, is that true, is that not? Irrelevant. But what I am going to say is there have been enough people with opinions about this head coach, and none of them are nice and cute. They're all pretty vile and bold, like bold statement, exclamation point. And he comes back and gives you what about now? Like, what do you think? You like that? Do you like that or not? And we're losing our minds over it, acting like it's a mess? Everybody calm the hell down. Toughen up a little bit.
Two things very shortly, because I want you to speak. 2021, he called the plays for the first 3 games. He was terrible, had to give up play calling.
Yeah, I agree.
So people were mad about him calling plays, not Steichen. Steichen took over, and the team got better under him. Yeah. So there wasn't people mad about Steichen. No, you said people were mad at Steichen in 2021.
Oh, did I mess that up? I meant to say we stripped it from
I got you. I'm just saying because it sounds like add-on with that many years. Secondly, I didn't see one tweet. I didn't hear one phone call asking for an apology from any fan. I didn't show me a tweet where a fan asked for him to apologize. They complained about him looking like a clown, and it was embarrassing, but I didn't see a soliloquy from anyone saying, he needs to apologize from us. That comes from management on high demanding that apology. I didn't hear Jaws say it. I didn't hear anybody on local TV say he should apologize to fans.
One of your local radio stations was all about it and ran segment after segment after segment after segment, and I lost my brain.
Well, he apologized. I don't know if they were, I didn't hear any fans saying, he needs to apologize to me because, again, they're drunk, bro. You make $8 million a year as a head coach. Someone's been in the parking lot drinking since 4:30. So if you're going to ear hustle to them during the game, again, not paying attention to detail, then what are you doing? You're a professional. You make $8 million a year. So I don't need an apology. It's not softness like that. It's softness of embarrassment around the league. We won a game, and I had to watch national media every single show talk about Nick Sirianni when I could have been laughing at the Cowboys.
Okay, and again, I really want to give you the floor, brother. I really do. I want to go back on this real quick.
Go for it.
So yeah, I agree, but it's also, we're the type of fan base that we wear the pride on our sleeve. We are part of this organization, right? And we act like it's not just the 53 on the field. Like when you come to the link, we are part of this experience. We are part of this game, and we live, breathe, eat shit Philadelphia Eagles. It's what we do, right? So I think part of it is if we're going to chirp at him, and I'm not, again, I don't like it. I'm not telling you that's what I want from my coach.
But you can almost understand it.
Yes, because like as a fan, if I'm the one chirping at him, if I'm the one giving him the business and he acknowledges me and he's like, yeah, I heard you. Yeah, I got, to me, I'm glued to this guy now because now he heard me. He validated me. Right. He's recognized me, and my words have impact on him. I feel more a part of the whole equation now. I'm not saying it's right, and I don't condone it to your point, but if I'm the ones in those stands, I can be mad all I want, but I'm like, oh, God, see, that's my coach. My coach just acknowledged me and told me that my opinion matters, coming from a fan base that acts like our opinions do matter.
Right. I got to keep it 100% with you guys and the audience. I am genuinely... My faith in Nick Sirianni post what was seen on the field when the game ended is now wavering. And you got to understand, I'm coming from a place where Nick Sirianni was the most identifiable coach. And again, like I said at the top, I'm just speaking on behalf of me. He was the coach that I most identified with in Philadelphia Eagles history. We're the same age. Nick's emotional, I'm emotional. Nick's a bit of a goofball. Case in point, right? Nick likes to talk his shit. Oh, boy, do I love talking his shit. The brief times that I've met Nick Sirianni, I've only met him a couple times, and shook in his hand with one hand, and he had his hand on a baby stroller with the other hand. And I know that's not going to touch down for a lot of people out there, but if you're a dad, especially a good dad, and you see other dads doing good dad shit, that sticks with you. But I'm to the point where Nick Sirianni, where he's now... Mr. Tune out the noise, let it not be a distraction, keep everything within the building. The cracks are showing physically, emotionally, and on the field. Like, I'm to the point now where I'm less concerned with him as a coach. And honest to God, I'm more concerned with him as like, you good, bro? Like I see the private Joker, Full Metal Jacket look you got going on there. Is this like a cancer awareness thing that you're trying to like what? And I still don't have an answer for like why you went all private pile on us over there. Why you are all of a sudden you're entering your Britney phase. Now like and now all of a sudden he's hearing and he's admitting it on the air that we're hearing the outside noise. We can hear the Fire Nick chants. We're reacting to it now. But bro, what happened to... Like, I am genuinely worried about Nick Sirianni losing his grip, losing his grasp on not only his team, because we talked about it, he was dealt a shit hand. He was dealt a no-win situation. And then all of a sudden, now you're hearing the noise and you want to chirp back at the fans. There is a list of commandments. It's the Philadephia list of commandments, and it's unspoken, but it's been true decade after decade after decade. Thou shalt give 100% all of the time. Thou shalt take accountability after loss. Thou shalt not enjoy smile in a press conference after. There is a unwritten rule, 10 commandments. I'm sure it's buried somewhere in the parking lot that Veterans Stadium used to stand on, but they're there. You can Indiana Jones it for yourself. You'll find it. But on list 1A, the top of the list, thou shalt not criticize the fans. That is an unspoken, unwritten, and to be God's honest, you shouldn't have to say it out loud. Other Philadelphia athletes have tried it. It has never gone well. I remember once upon a time, Jason Avant. Who doesn't love Jason Avant? I love Jason Avant dabs me up every time. One time he tried it. He tried it and gave Sports Talk Radio a week worth of content just based off of, hey, you guys shouldn't boo us. J-Roll tried it once. and never made the mistake again. And Nick, I'm not talking to you from a position where I'm standing on my high horse as a representative and the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, because I will state for the third time on this goddamn show that I speak for me and only me and always will. But you cannot talk to the customer like that, because they are the paying customer and you are the employee. Thou shalt not speak bad about the fans. And I can only imagine what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman were sitting up there thinking about when Nick was chirping at the fans. Nick, listen, like I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice. I have them written down. If I had the opportunity to sit down and break bread with Nick, I would give him these 3 pieces of advice. Nick, don't worry about your job. Worry about the next job. And I'm not saying that because you're going to lose your job over this, although you might have, listen, you might have wrote your exit plan on that one. But you're not going to lose your job over this. But the product that you're putting out on the field and the way your players are playing for you, you will lose your job over that. And listen, bud, that's not the end of the world, okay? Every Eagles head coach has had the opportunity to walk into another NFL headquarters and earn a job. Buddy Ryan did it with Arizona when they were in the NFC East, which made absolutely no sense. Richie Kotite got a job with the New York Jets. Andy Reid got a job with the Cincinnati Chiefs and built himself a dynasty. The San Francisco 49ers were dumb enough to give Chip Kelly another opportunity. Doug's currently and probably going to be fired again down there in Jacksonville. What you don't want on your hands is your resume now blackmarked because an organization is going to sit there and ask you about this. Another organization is going to sit there. What was that all about? Because you are a habitual line stepper. This isn't the first time, okay? This isn't the first time. You did it in Indianapolis, which was kind of weird. We weren't on board with it, but we're like, all right, he's sticking up for Frank Reich. It's kind of weird, but okay. And then he did it at Kansas City, which was like, it was great for social media content. Thank you for that. But otherwise, you shouldn't be chirping at a fan base that beat you in the Super Bowl the previous year. And now you're going to do it to your own fans? Don't worry about this job. We just saw Ken Dorsey, who was the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, throw a temper tantrum that wasn't meant for the cameras when he was the coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. And I guarantee you, when he interviewed for that Browns position, they asked him, what was that temper tantrum all about? What was that about? Are you going to do that here? Don't worry about this job. All right? Things are going to play out the way they're going to play out. Worry about the next job, okay? Because right now, that's who you're trying to impress. You're trying to do your job here, but you're trying to impress the next one because there will inevitably be a next one. Point number 2. I understand this is happening organically, and I appreciate it happens organically because the best things in life always happen organically. But I feel the team taking on like a us versus them sort of an attitude. Us versus them. And the them is us. It's the Eagles fans. And I just need you to understand, Nick, that this is going to be a completely one-sided argument. Okay? Because you can say it's us versus the Eagles fans. I promise you it's not the Eagles fans versus you. Because the reason why we boo, the reason why we give people a hard time, the reason why we're on Sports Talk Radio and Gritty's got his 30% with pitchforks is because we care. We want to see you win. You're an underperforming team. You know it. We know it. So don't, if that's what it takes to motivate the boys, screw it. Fine. Whatever it takes to motivate the boys. But just have a mutual understanding between this seat and your seat that you might see it as an us versus them. We do not see it the same way. Because it might be the city of brotherly love, but it's the city of brotherly tough love. All right? And you're the head coach. And I know you're going through a lot right now, but you're just going to have to take that. The final thing I'll get to before we get back to the reads. This is where I can relate to you. This is where we do connect, right? Because you're a NFL head coach. I have no idea what you're going through. I have no idea what happens behind closed doors. I have no idea your message to the team. I can't relate to you even a little bit. I'm some schmuck behind a microphone. But what I am is a dad. And you're a dad too, okay? And I would think ill of having the kids on the press conference if it hadn't happened before. All right? Because you do. You bring your kids up on the thing, and it's kind of nice, and that's wonderful. So I'm not going to crucify you for doing, as Chris Long said, max protect on the post-game press conference. But what I am going to tell you from a place of experience, when you put your kids up on a camera, you subject them to criticism. You subject them to everything else that all those negative people are saying. Now they're talking about your kids. And I've put my kids on camera, and I've made the mistake of having Reese do a Cam Newton thing with the routes and the females. We know routes and all that stuff. And my daughter got cruised. I couldn't delete that video fast enough. Just recently, I had my son do a Chase U. You know Chase U from TikTok, right? Yeah. Great content creator. Great. Yeah. He had that song. Chase. Go Birds is one thing. Go Phils is. And my boy likes to be part of it. He likes to get into the shit dad's getting into. So I had him do that voiceover. Mets fans were already on top of it. I'm expecting an opposing fan base to start talking shit, but that's your kid, right? Then the Phillies weren't playing well. And then the Phillies fans were talking shit on my kid. And I deleted the video immediately following that watch party. For those of you who tuned in, I thank you. Because I didn't want Mets fans taking a victory lap on my kid. And I didn't want Philly sports fans, the people that I love and identify with, shitting on my kid. So just know, when you put your kids up there, you are subjecting them to the criticism that's being slung your way. Moral of the story is, if I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice, don't worry about this job. Be 2022, Nick. Worry about the next job. Don't act like a clown, because that shit's going to come back to haunt you, okay? The us versus them attitude, it's one-sided. And if that's what it takes to motivate the guys, that's fine. Do it. But understand that it's one-sided. And the kids thing, I'm a dad, you're a dad, Black Riddy, you're a dad, you understand this. Leave him off camera, all right? Be a great dad. I know you're a great dad. I've met you. I know you're a great dad. Leave him off camera. You guys want to pay some bills and do some reads?
Dude, there's I'll run it. There's so much to unpack there. Let's do a couple reads first, and then we'll jump in.
You got it. And then we got to get to the Giants. I promise
we're skipping that. You had a soliloquy. We got to get to the Giants, but go ahead.
I mean, how do I skip?
We skip it.
Let me get that read. Let me get that read. All right. So we've spent, every week I'm over here talking about these bad boys, right? The Shady Rays. Because we know that it's a world-class product and it doesn't break the bank. But I want to bring some real-world experience into it, because every week we talk about that protection program and how it's the most insane protection program that you're going to find, whether it's lost, whether it's missing, whether it's broken and they're going to replace. Well, we put it to the test. All right, legitimately put it to the test. My neighbor, Mr. Dirt, shout out Mr. Dirt. We're going to call him that moving forward. He has Shady Rays. He's a Shady Rays guy. So he was telling me how a couple years ago he had lost his Shady Rays, straight up lost his Shady Rays, called up, as we always talk about on this show, just like that. They replaced it. This was years ago, right, when he got the Shady Rays. Okay, and that's one thing. So fine, company talks about a replacement program. You lose them once in a while. They're going to send you it. But after a couple of years, they probably forget about you. You want to buy another pair. They want, they got to build the brand and keep moving product. Well, we went to the Phillies game, unfortunately, game 1 against the Mets, and sat down, forgot he had a Shady Rays tucked into his hoodie, sat on his hoodie, cracked them, wrecked them. Shady Rays are done. I said, ho, not so fast, my friend. Call that number. I want to see what happens. Guess who's got a new pair of Shady Rays? You damn right. Years after he bought them, lost them, replaced them, broke them years later, new pair sitting in the crib. So the protection plan is bona fide. You got a 30-day risk-free trial. So even if you're not worried about the protection plan, you don't like them, you return them. We're going to run an exclusive offer for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And again, with the best backed plan in the biz.
So if you've watched this show, you should know one thing. I care a lot about myself, and I agree with myself a lot. I say that to say...
We're going to get a whiteboard.
Tomorrow is my birthday. That's Thursday, October 17th. There's 1,000 of you guys right now live on Twitter and the YouTube. We appreciate you diehards. But I just found something I might have to go do. I was talking earlier, I don't go to races, but we're hosting an event for Oktoberfest. It is the National Thoroughbred League, and it's at Parks Racing. And one of the horses is co-owned by Dr. J. Dr. J is going to be in the building. Westbrook, Seth Joyner, Freddie Mitchell, and a whole bunch of other Eagles. They said a dozen. So I'm thinking That's a plethora more Eagles there. And since we're playing the Giants, some Giants going to be in the building. I'll say their names just because it's on the list. I don't really want to do it. Howard Cross, Beasley Reese, and some other dude I don't feel like saying his name. Some New York players are going to be there. Apparently, they own some horses too. And if you never bet on the ponies, it's something fun to do. It really is. You might go broke. You might get rich. If you get rich, remember it's my birthday. I deserve 10% of your winnings and our earnings because I told you to go there for the meet and greet. They've got a beer garden. They got some of the best food in Philadelphia. I'm just saying, if you're looking for something to do on October 19th, go down and hang out with the ponies and see Dr. J and let him know that you put $5 on his pony. I'm saying. So that's something the PHLY diehards are linked to, and you can get involved and just have something fun to do. The doors open at noon. The race starts at 2:30. Partner with NTL to go the diehards exclusive access to this event. Oh, so you gotta be a diehard to get in there. I mean, I'm just saying 20% off merchandise. So you know what I mean? Go ahead, get what you gotta get. So if you're a diehard, you already know about it. But go ahead and jump in there or go to NTL Racing at Parks Racing. I mean, I'm just saying, just do something for yourself on Saturday. New York vibes, you know what I mean? Bet against the New York ponies. That's what you do. So just go ahead and check that out for us, and I appreciate it. And again, if you win anything, I am owed 10% of the earnings for my birthday. It's not my fault. It's in the write-up. I had to read it out loud to you. So, yeah, the Pony Show.
I love it. Hey, listen, we're all excited and we're all pumped up at the fact that Jalen Hurts had his first clean game, right? No turnovers. I am pumped up and excited right now because we, for the first time in this podcast's history, have had a clean set of reads without me interrupting the middle and jumping in after my read or screwing it up or stumbling through it. And we kept it short and we kept it precise. So high fives. We did it. We did it.
That hooked on phonics has been working out for you.
Yeah, hooked on phonics worked for me, baby.
E-Rock finally learned how to read.
But I promised myself and I promised you guys that for the first time, we were really going to dedicate some time to the next opponent. Because listen, we've had a lot to react to on this show. Week after week, because there's no peace and there's no fun. So we just sit here and scream at each other and then we go, oh yeah, we got a game coming up. But this one feels different. And the reason it feels different is because for the first time, we're playing an NFC East opponent. Not only that, but there is several heaping helpings of revenge yet to be served up for this team, whether it come by way of what you did to us last year and by way of Saquon Barkley. So, BG, I'll start with you. How do you see this matchup shaking out? What are you looking for? What are you excited for? What do you anticipate happening?
So, Jalen Hurts has had bad games against New York as of recent. And the only thing that we had to hope for was our parlays hitting on the Giant Killer. The Giant Killer is now gone. Uh-oh. Long live the new Giant Killer. Long live Saquon Barkley. It's the rare feat of a divisional opponent where they want to kill us like with extra oomph. Yeah. And we want to kill them with extra oomph. Saquon has come. He's gotten a divorce from his wife. She got addicted to drugs and started doing crazy stuff. He's married a new lady.
I was so confused. I was like, said, what?
She's all cracked out up there in New York. Comes down to Philadelphia, finds a new, young, attractive wife. She's got her own business. She's got things going on for herself. And he's happy here. He's probably happier than he's ever been with his first wife. And now they've got to meet each other at a family function, and we're going to see how it goes down. And everybody wants a piece. So Saquon has got the extra juice, and we want the extra juice for him. I'm expecting 2 touchdowns, 140 yards, all purpose. I want the new Giant Killer to go out there and handle business. And Jalen Hurts, this should be the first game that you've had against the Giants in a while where you show up and show out to support this man. He always shows up and shows out for Brown. Him and Brown got that connection. This is the time when you bring Saquon in and you say, hey, I got you. They talk really well together. You know, Saquon loves the way Jalen speaks. Well, go out there and put your foot on the throat of the Giants. I want the owner of the New York Giants to cry himself to sleep on Sunday night listening to highlights of the game. That's what I need.
Yeah, Saquon got divorced and then might have realized that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Right?
Listen, they just went from one red flag to the other red flag.
You mean I had to water my lawn? Is that what it was?
He was leading the league in rushing and had 5 touchdowns. He had a whole bunch of stats.
Yeah, right. Look, the reality is that I think for all the reasons you mentioned, Gritty, you expect this to be one of those, revenge games that we talk about. Let's go out there and feature. Let's highlight Saquon Barkley. Let's let him light Metlife on fire and remind them of what they let go. Remind them of the player that used to grace that uniform that's now playing for a rival down 95. And for all those reasons, I just have a feeling that Sirianni and Kellen Moore are going to do the exact opposite, because that's what we've come to expect. Now, if they can get him his touches early, if they can run the football and kind of feature him, then obviously we like our chances. They're a little bit. They're still a very good defense. They're short. Yeah. They're short Thibodeau, but they're still a really good defense. It'll be a test for Jalen Hurts. We'll see if Malik Neighbors is going to give him some firepower on the other side of the ball. But the reality is, and we know this, we've seen this for years. I think the Eagles have won 5 of 6 matchups, but for years, when you get an NFC East matchups, throw the records out the window. So just throw it all out the window, because none of it matters. NFC East, and it goes for all divisions, not just the NFC East, but when you get into these division rival games, yeah, it's a coin flip. It really is. It really is. And to your point earlier, Gritty, again, it's about who executes, right? Who comes in with the game plan, to your point, who imposes their will, who executes said game plan, and it's just cleaner on both sides of the ball. I'd like to tell you that on paper, and we've mentioned it's leaning in the favor of the Eagles. They're a 3.5 favorite. That's great. Are you going to be surprised? We've already talked about resetting our expectations, finding our peace in the fact that there is no peace. So for those reasons and more, I look at it and say, I'm leaning Eagles, but a lot has to go their way in order for them to come out, especially if Malik Neighbors is going to get some burn. That's a tough guard for them.
In a previous episode, BG said to us, and we looked at each other like we couldn't understand exactly what was just said, but you said, this is not the time for Jalen Hurts to have a clean game. And me and you looked at him like he was crazy. I'm going to say the crazy statement now. I'm going to be the crazy one. The Saquon Barkley game is not going to be the Saquon Barkley game, nor should it be the Saquon Barkley game. He's going to be all revved up with emotion. I get it. You want your revenge. You want to exact your revenge. If you don't think that Jonathan Mara is down and Joe Sheen, whatever the hell you did, whatever, is telling the defensive coordinator, I don't care if we win or lose this game, Saquon Barkley will not embarrass us. You do everything in your power. You muddle up the middle, and you make sure that he doesn't have an ounce of running room, and you swarm that guy. I don't care about anybody else. You make sure that guy, he's already embarrassed us. We're already embarrassed. Let's not do it in front of our home fans. The New York Giants are going to try to do everything in their power to stop Saquon Barkley. So in that spirit, you start going ahead and you start doing some other things. Number one, I want you to start blitzing. All right? You blitz 45% of the times against the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson was not able to handle it very well. You got guys home. My man Cooper got in. Cooper got in with a sack, right? So you want to continue the blitz because Daniel Jones is prone to making mistakes when under pressure. Daniel Jones also last week was the New York Giants' leading rusher. Something got into Daniel Jones where Papa thought he had a brand new bag and decided that Vanilla Vic was going to go ahead and tote the rock, okay? That's what he was going to do. He was going to put the game on his shoulders. So if you leave that guy with enough time in a clean pocket, he is fast enough, as awkward and as white as he is, and he is the saltine of NFL quarterbacks, because that is the most generic-looking cracker I've ever seen in my life, all right? He can actually outrun most of the guys on the field. Yeah, okay? Yeah. So don't give him the opportunity to get comfortable, see a lane, and go. Plus, not to mention that the left tackle, Andrew Thomas, is out. They're not the only people. We're dealing with our own left tackle issues. We got our own, or they got their own, okay? I want you to take the game plan that you didn't do against Tampa, but that Tampa did against you. They've got big, sexy Dexy in the middle, and they've invested a lot of money at the pass rush position. How do you neutralize a pass rush? Quick, precise, pass it. All right, Black Gritty, go ahead. I see you gritting. I see you gritting. No.
I'm sorry. Everything, you're absolutely right. You said something that made me feel a certain way, but I'm telling you, this is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Me throw ball deep, me run ball Saquon. Now, I don't care what you say about what different game plan. Saquon, yes, the owner's going to say stop Saquon. And their only saving grace is that Malata's out. Because what they're going to do is crash the line, and Stoutland has one thing in mind. Pull and ride. And if you miss Saquon on one tackle, he's hit his head on the goalpost. So you can tell them to go crowd the line. That means if you miss one tackle, he's gone. So I'm telling you right now, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, tush pushing, Jalen, get your ass out of the center because Saquon's got to get the tush push.
Which might happen. But with that defensive line, and quite frankly, I need to see this sort of, you're right, me throw ball deep.
AJ, 50-50. Well, AJ 75-25.
You know it's coming. 4 verts.
Yeah,
you know it's coming.
Who was it? Oh my God, I gotta give a shout out to God. I'm misremembering the name, and I hope I don't. There's like the Philly show on YouTube. I just stumbled across his content.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Phenomenal content, well put together, buttoned up, precise. I was
Regarding
blown away.
what? Like what type of content?
He's talking Eagles all the time.
Talking Eagles, but his 15 minutes is like wrapped. It's very concise and very to the point, and he shows his work.
Good.
He shows his work, and one of the work that he showed was that Sirianni play where he overrid them before the blocked field goal and showed his route tree, and it was me throw ball deep. When the full-on blitz was coming and you're in field goal range, and if you knock yourself back, it lowers. All right, we're getting back down the Sirianni rabbit hole.
No, we're not getting on Sirianni. We're getting on another name.
What I need to see is I need to see Kellen Moore scheme guys open, a la what he did against the Green Bay Packers, ball out of his hands quickly, neutralize the pass rush. And listen, it may be, Black Gray, maybe we'll make a friendly wager on this. Maybe this is the Saquon game.
We should.
But I think to nip we can't score in the first quarter in the bud, they need to play precise dink and dunk football, control the time of possession, and in doing so, they win the game.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's great. I agree with you. Like, there are things that they need to do. Sure. Hey, let's run some pre-snap motion. Hey, maybe we can get Jalen under center, run some play action. Hey, maybe we can get some hot routes or get the ball out or dink and dunk or whatever other buzzword that we want to use. The reality is, and again, we said this earlier, is how much evidence do we need to see until we realize they are who they are? And if they were going to run some game plan where Hurts gets the ball out of his hand early, if they wanted to try to feature Saquon, if they wanted to do these things, they would do those things. They either don't want to do those and they don't believe that's their identity, even though we don't think that they have an identity. Maybe they do, and we just don't like what that identity is. Or the reality of the situation is their offense is curtailed around their quarterback, and they are just hamstrung with it. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the answer, but we've seen enough. We've seen enough game plans. We've seen enough coordinators. We've seen enough issues on offense that maybe the common denominator is this is what we have to do. I don't think it's realistic for us to go in there. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope it's 22 tugs for $150 and 2 touchdowns, and Jalen's efficient and clean and gets the ball out, and they're efficient on third down. You come out of that with a 16, 17-point victory. Cool, I got it. I just don't know what we've seen to say, oh, cool, this week that'll happen. I hope it does. I'm not confident.
You got to score a point in the first quarter sooner.
So, Julia, I sent you something in Slack. If you could pull it up for me, please. I sent it to you in a DM. It's not in the open. So I'll say this: when I say 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, I still expect us to win by 3 points. Don't get it twisted. I apologize if I misled you and the audience when I said the Saquon game. The Saquon game still meets the standard of just getting a George W. I'm not calling for a blowout by any means because we are playing the Giants. And to allude to your point, it's one of the things that where, again, I personally, in the 30%, want Nick Sirianni fired because there's too many questions. Whose offense is it? Now, again, he had to give up play calling his 3rd game in, but the offense generally has looked the same over these years. Mm-hmm. And he is very strong-minded about what his offense is. So much so, Gannon left here and was parroting Nick Sirianni. We want shots. Pew, pew, explosives. So when the offense doesn't change, even though we all know that Howie came in and said, hey, bro, listen to this guy. Nick still is in the background in somebody's ear saying, well, I'm still the head coach, bro. And if I want explosives, I want explosives. And not to be nothing, Jeffrey Lurie likes passing more than running. This is a general known concept of him wanting the offense to run and all these kind of things. So if you could pull up that tweet that I said, did you see it? Did you find it?
While she's putting that out, you guys know I'm like a marketing guy at heart, right? So like I'm already thinking about a T-shirt idea where it needs to be Black Roody's T-shirt.
Yeah.
It needs to be not Jason
You got a
Kelsey's
pitchfork,
98
don't you?
percenters. It needs to be the 30 percenters. Hashtag fire Nick
with some
underneath
pitchforks.
with some pitchforks. Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah,
we got graphic design.
And I won't even make it a Nick thing. So
Okay,
here's
break
a
it down
fun
for me.
chart for the people.
Love it.
Right? So on the one side, it's Christmas time and you've gone into your attic. You can click on the one picture, it'll pop up bigger. Yes. You're going into your attic and you're trying to get the Christmas lights out. And it's a nest, a wire's nest of what you're trying to find out. If you're listening to audio, it is just a jumbled ball of lights that you've got to sit down for half an hour to figure out. That is a Kellen Moore tree. It's just a mess all over the field, motions and
All over.
and,
You don't
and
know where it's
squiggly
coming
lines,
from.
and
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on. And now let's see AJ Brown's passing tree. Oh, shots to the right, couple squiggles to the left, and nothing over the middle. And this looks like the same offense that worked to get us to a Super Bowl and the same offense that is now killing us now because the league has adjusted and the 49ers have said, we know what you're doing and what you like to do. But it hasn't changed any, even with a new coordinator. So again, I know that we have this conversation every week. It's annoying to have. Does Jalen not like throwing over the middle? Which he was asked in a press conference today. He said, no, I have no problem throwing over the middle. Sometimes the plays just aren't called that way. So I have a head coach who meddles but doesn't meddle. Made a joke about calling defensive plays. I have an offensive coordinator who's supposed to be calling the plays. Then I have a quarterback without Kelsey now. So now you're fully responsible for blitz packages and audibles. Who is in control of what? We don't know. But it looks like the same offense I watched for the last 4 years. It's just now the league has adjusted to it.
Already showed his work.
I genuinely feel like in a roundabout way, you're proving my point. Ultimately, the reality is ultimately who's to blame is Lurie and Roseman because they've created this situation. Howie has created this situation where there's this unknown. The part that I struggle with is, okay, if we've seen it in 21 and 22 is an anomaly, we saw it in 23, we're seeing it in 24. You got rid of your offensive coordinator. You decided to bring back your head coach. Like, why would Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, us not being behind the scenes, you said we're Joe Schmo. We don't know. Like, I don't know what goes on in practice in the meeting rooms. I don't know what the reality is. I know who does know, that team. I know Howie Roseman knows why Nick Sirianni is still the head coach. I know Howie Roseman knows why he brought in Kellen Moore. So I look at it and I say, if we are this team that on paper, we're ready to win. It's not win now mode because Howie Roseman's done a good job setting them up today and for the future. But they are their window is now. They are ready and built to win now. If it ain't the guy, if that's not the head coach, and you know the head coach is the reason they struggled in 23, and you still say no, bringing that guy back, and you bring in this offensive coordinator that's having the same exact struggles as years prior and coordinators prior, again, I just feel like the answer's right there. The answer's right there. And call it out.
Yeah, okay.
It's right there. Howie would have said, damn it, we got the quarterback, we got a coordinator, we need a new head coach, or just give Kellen Moore the rings because, look, Nick, we tried it. We tried it. Yeah. I get it. They're not reactionary. They don't do this in the season. But if you think Jeffrey Lurie is this guy that's just got all day in the world and he doesn't, you think he wants to be 82 Jerry Jones holding on, trying to get another ring? No, he wants a ring now. He's not here to waste time. Part of me, I'm not telling you I'm right. Part of me is a combination of Lurie and Howie saying, yeah, it ain't Nick. And it's not Kellen. We know the type of offense Kellen runs. We've seen it in Dallas. We saw it in LA. It's clearly not here, though. Why? What's the difference?
It's an interesting point by you, and he showed your work. It's an interesting point by you. I am at peace, and I am happy finding out for the remainder of the season exactly what's going on because I'm at peace with it, but I know it's not going to be fun.
Right.
Everything starts and ends with Nick. That's what he tells me every single week.
You're 100%
and so
right.
Until the main thing changes, keep the main thing the main thing, then I can't assess my quarterback and my everybody else because the main guy is still the main guy.
That is correct.
Before we get on out of here, and guys, I got to tell you, I love this show. I feel really good about today's show.
You had some things to say, brother. I love it.
This felt right, and I'm glad after the Phillies whole thing that we are back on track. But give me BG. I think I know your prediction. Give me one bold prediction. If it's a Saquon Barkley one, we'll just roll with it. But give me one big prediction on the Giants Eagles game.
Well, first of all, you only love the show because that's just something positive to start, and don't expect it. So you can go right back to your normal scheduled feelings on the show. Secondly, yes, my bold prediction, since you guys are against me, Saquon game, explosive runs, shots, and us winning 23-19.
Yeah, I don't know why. I tend to do this. I think they'll come away with a win. I'll go 26-17.
26-17. Okay.
Yeah. Against my better judgment. No, I'm going to change that. No, 26-24. That's what I'm going. 26-24, lock it in.
24-20. Q has his first interception of the year. And I am looking forward to, and I'm going to be dialed in, because I'll be out there with Philly Sports Trips. We're going to be tailgating in the, the American Dream parking lot. We're going to be out there. We're all going to be wearing our Saquon Barkley jerseys. We're going to have a great time. Hit them up if you're looking for extra spots. I don't know if there is, but it's certainly worth asking. I am looking forward to seeing Q versus Neighbors, because I know that that's a matchup that we're going to be watching collectively for, at the very least, the next half decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and my bold prediction, because I saw how pissed he was at Chauncey when he knocked into him and then disrupted his first interception of the year as a rookie, I think Q gets his first pick, all right? Hey, listen,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Last thing. If you can't afford to go hang out with E-Rock because tickets might be sold out too. There is a watch party at PHLY. And if you see that link up there, you can have a chance to win club seats to a future game.
Oh, damn.
And if you ever been in the club, I've been in the club once or twice. Let me just tell you something. I felt good about myself for a couple weeks after.
You got his hands closed.
I got my hands closed. So if you're trying to get in there, you can check out PHLYsports.com and find out the link to that for the live watch party on the 20th. Starts at noon, so you can watch the game. If you can't, go hang out on a bus with E-Rock. You can go
we appreciate you tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share it. It helps the podcast out so much if you just give us a follow on our social media accounts. Give it a listen. Tell your friends about it, okay? Speaking of telling your friends about it, when I find out who's the narc who said that I was a grunter in jiu-jitsu class, I will find this out. And I will come. I will find you. Until next week, we appreciate you tuning in. And go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
We all silly like the mayor.